Money's not that important, says the biggest YouTuber on the platform. Well, hello there again, my fellow internet plebs. Anxious sitting back with another topic of interest. So as someone who watches PewDiePie, like most of YouTube it seems, one of the things that he's talked about in his videos and he's mentioned, and it's always kind of struck me, is how a lot of people focus on his money. If you go online and if you watch his videos where he talks about it, obviously there's tons of articles where people are speculating about how much money he makes and how much he's worth and all this kind of stuff. And it's one of the reasons I think people might assume the media goes after him sometimes and things like that. So recently he's talked about that a bit and even has kind of grown more bold, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of acknowledging that their figures, which are pretty high, especially for a YouTuber, are low, essentially. So he seems to be becoming more open about what he makes and I guess, I don't know what you would call it, boastful maybe. I don't really think it's boasting though, because it doesn't really seem necessarily like he's bragging. It's more, I think, a jab at the journalists or the outlets that are reporting on these things. I don't know. In any case, recently he made a video addressing something that was always on my mind when he talked about this, which is, if money's not that important to you, why do you have ads on your videos, especially like tons of mid-roll ads? Why do you push merch? Why do you still do sponsorships and like these custom like PewDiePie games that come out and all these different avenues of revenue that he has and that he's constantly pushing? And you know, if you looked at his grind in terms of making daily content and pushing all of these different avenues of making money and pulling in revenue, it would seem like someone who's on the climb, like the YouTube grind, trying to get to where they're making real money. But based on his views and the ads in his videos and everything, it would seem that he's probably making more than enough just from YouTube ads. So when you have someone who's doing that, who's making all this content and they're pushing their content and their side projects and all these other ways of making money, and then to have that person come out and be like, yeah, money's not that important to me, I don't understand why everyone cares about it. It comes off as like, well, obviously because you have it. Either you're being disingenuous or you're kind of just oblivious to the fact that people who don't have money need it, and it's a big deal to them to think about money and how much someone's making, especially from YouTube. So anyway, he came out with a video recently addressing questions, I guess, that he has asked a lot from fans or viewers or whatever you want to call them. And one of them was, I don't really remember what the question was, but I think he ended up bringing up the money aspect of things as like an aside. And this is what he had to say about that.
To be honest, I feel like a lot of times like a hypocrite, because I keep saying I don't care about money, but I'm obviously still generating a lot of money. I'm still selling merch. I'm still putting mid-rolls in my videos. I'm still doing sponsors, and it's like, well, if I don't care about money, why do I do these things? In a way, it feels like you're validating your work by making money. I know that maybe not makes sense at all. But then again, the way you make YouTube videos and how successful your channel is ties into how you're making money as well. If your video makes a lot of money, YouTube is going to recommend that video more as well. Does that make sense? I hope in 2019 I can start living by my own ideals more.
So as you can see here, this was kind of a relief to me to have him actually acknowledge this and address it. Unfortunately, I don't know. Obviously, it's not my place to judge. I'm just kind of speculating on this and just sharing my thoughts. I'm not really trying to make a point here or anything like that. But it didn't really seem like as satisfactory of an explanation as I would have enjoyed. It's a bit like, you know, he's acknowledging that he is doing all these things to make more money, and it sounds hypocritical to say that money's not important to him and then do all these things. So good on him for acknowledging that. And again, as a viewer, it was kind of relieving to have him address it. However, the only thing to me that really made the most sense was the mid-roll ads. I definitely understand that, you know, he's a YouTuber still. Just because you made money doesn't mean you want to stop doing something that you enjoy. But you're trying to play the YouTube game and stay at the top, and whatever your motivations are, you have to try and do what's necessary to progress. And I get that. Like, maybe he doesn't need the money, but the ads help to boost his content in his channel and keep it relevant in the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. So I think, who could fault him on that if he's still interested in doing YouTube? What he does with his money from that, a lot of people might say, well, just donate the money or whatever. It's like, it's his money. He's putting in the work. I don't think anyone, no matter how much money you're making, is going to do a daily YouTube grind and just give all of the money they make from it away. Unless you're Mr. Beast, I guess. But in any case, that's understandable. He's on YouTube as a platform. He's putting in hours and hours of work to produce this content on a daily basis. That's one hell of a grind, and he's done it for a long time now. So I definitely understand getting something back from the effort that you're putting in and also playing the YouTube game. Makes sense. I get that. Where it kind of falls into, like, I don't know, it still sounds a bit hypocritical, is like the merch and the sponsorships and stuff like that. Now, I get that, again, like growing a brand and being, I don't know what you want to call them, a celebrity of some sort, whatever, doing sponsorships, having like branded things like the gaming chair and these like games that come out based on him and all this kind of stuff. I get that. It's cool that he can do all that stuff, and I think the average person doing that probably isn't going to necessarily forego a paycheck for having their name and their brand used on things. So, it's not something that I really feel like he can be judged on or anything. It's just something that kind of sticks out in terms of, like, you're making money from all these things, and he tends to push it pretty hard, like the games and everything that he's involved with. He has like ads on the end of his videos. Sometimes elsewhere in the videos to push those, and it just seems like he pushes really hard for things that might come off to people as ways of just making money. Now, maybe he's passionate about those things, maybe he's interested in them, whatever. So there could be other reasons besides money to push those things as hard as he does. And there is, of course, the perception of him as a brand and things like that. But I don't know, most people, I think, just from a basic view, look at these things as ways of making money. And when you have plenty of money, then, it could obviously become more of just the passion of doing it. And again, if you're going to be doing it anyway, why would you forego a paycheck for it? So, I think he's in a unique position, obviously, to have made so much money and continue to be making so much money and still want to do things, but people are going to judge you based on the money you make from the things that you do. And I don't know. I think, as someone who doesn't have a lot of money, you might look at that and be like, I don't know, just focusing on the monetary aspect of those endeavors. And that's what sticks out to you because, you don't have plenty of money. You're scraping by or struggling to pay rent or whatever the case may be. So when you look at things that other people are doing and it makes money for them, it's like, you're already at the top. You already have plenty of money and you're doing all these things to make more money, and I can't even do one of those things. So obviously that might be, I think, people shouldn't compare themselves to others, but I think it just sort of happens inevitably, even if it's in a respectful manner. Like, I aspire to do what that person's doing, so you're doing it in kind of a positive way. If you're trying and failing, especially, then that comparison becomes more or less toxic. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those tricky subjects to handle, and I think, it's kind of like, not to get political here, but when someone becomes president or whatever, like, everyone judges their decisions and what they do and act like they would do something differently, but you don't know what goes into those decisions unless you're in that position and the information that they have available to them is available to you. So it's hard to judge from the outside looking in, and I think your perspective probably broadens when you're in that situation and are able to see the world and the industry and the system from that perspective. Things probably change. So again, it was nice to see him address it and hear his take on that, because it does just, from an outsider's perspective, comes off as a hypocritical thing to say, is, oh, money's not that important to me, I don't understand why people focus on it. And it, I think there is truth, though, to the fact that it is easy for him to say that when he's made plenty of money, and if he quit everything today, he would probably be fine, I'm pretty sure, based on the amount of money he makes. I don't know the cost of living and things that he has to put money into in his personal life, family, and things like that. I'm sure he tries to help people who are close to him, maybe. So there's a lot of variables that you can't really take into account unless you're that person. So it's understandable that maybe he doesn't want to just quit making money, but chances are, I think he's made enough to where he would be fine. So obviously, a lot of people are thinking that maybe, unless you're just a blind supporter or whatever, you're wondering why he keeps pushing all these things. And, most people would hope to make on YouTube in their entire YouTube career what PewDiePie probably makes in a year or less. So he's in a very interesting position. And again, it seems like he's becoming more real, trying to address things, and he says that in this video where he's trying to do more things that he enjoys and bring more of, like, I don't know, I guess things that he would suppress in the past in order to keep the flow of things going. So I'm interested in seeing where he goes with that. But anyway, I don't know, it's just an interesting topic I thought I'd discuss, because it's always something that kind of struck me as he said, hypocritical. And again, I don't know, just as far as like my personal feelings, if this acknowledgement from him kind of satiates the curiosity there, or kind of, what would you call it, eliminates the skepticism of what he's doing. I mean, maybe there is, worst case, he's kind of in a privileged position to not care about money because he has plenty of it. And money is important to him, but maybe for a different reason. Maybe making money is the way now that he gauges how well he's doing, how successful he is. And, because once you're at his position, numbers in terms of views and everything, they matter, but he's easily getting millions of views per upload, and he's uploading daily. So how do you gauge your success? As long as those numbers stay good and the money you're making is good or growing, then you've already climbed the ladder. There's not many places to go from the top other than to just keep expanding. So maybe there is this kind of greed element or something, and just in terms of like wanting to stay relevant and wanting to stay successful. Again, I just think maybe the motivations change when you get to that point. But again, when it comes down to the point of me just rambling on, to say that money's not that important and he doesn't get why people focus on it, or, I think he understands, but just, not understanding or really comprehending whatever the reason people kind of latch on to it, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like, I think it may be a two-way street. Maybe he doesn't quite understand where people are coming from. I think he understands the idea of it, but maybe he doesn't quite understand the reality of where people are coming from and how they feel about his success and viewing someone's success in that way from their perspective. And I think those people, maybe me included, don't understand what it's like to look at his success or other people's success in contrast with our own lack of success or failures or whatever, and maybe can't understand that perspective. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the PewDiePie hypocrite money situation. And I thought it was just an interesting topic, and hopefully he's the genuine person that he seems to come off as in his videos. It doesn't really matter, I guess, it's just a YouTuber making videos, but it's cool that he's so successful, and it's unfortunate that his brand has been kind of tainted by some of these controversies and stuff, at least on the world outside of YouTube for the most part. Most people, I think, are using him to just kind of latch onto and get views or start controversies to grow their own brands or whatever. So it is what it is, and I can definitely understand maybe a bit of animosity on his part to want to stay successful in spite of those people. So anyway, for the 10th time, I'm going to try to end this video. Thanks for watching. Those were just my thoughts. Hope it was interesting in some way. And that's it. See you in the next video.
Perfect.